Have you ever stopped to think that when you choose a virtual learning platform, even before anyone says anything or shows a slide, that choice itself might be teaching you something, pretty profound. It's something we often just click on, right? But there's actually a surprising amount of depth there. So today we're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating idea, the hidden curriculum. Basically, the lessons embedded in the tools themselves. Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, maybe even something like Rome. We're going to explore how the medium, the platform itself, sends a powerful message, one we don't always consciously pick up on. And our guide for this is a really compelling article. It's called The Hidden Curriculum of Platform Choice, What We Teach Before We Say a Word, written by Amy Oswald, who founded Conduit. It definitely makes you rethink things.
Absolutely. And what's great is this idea, it's got real roots. It builds on, some foundational research in media theory, learning science. It gives us a solid way to understand these influences that often just fly under the radar, how we start to think about knowledge, about interacting with people online. We're looking beyond the what to the how.
Right. So the mission here for you listening is to start seeing these hidden lessons. By the end of our chat, you'll hopefully be much more aware of how your digital learning space is kind of subtly shaping your whole experience. Okay, let's unpack this then. This core idea, it really hinges on something the media theorist Marshall McLuhan famously said. The medium is the message. What did he actually mean by that? Especially when we apply it to, say, a Zoom call or a Google Meet session.
Well, McLuhan's big insight was that the technology itself, its features, its design, how it works, that actually has a bigger, more lasting impact than whatever content you're delivering through it. So for virtual learning, it means the platform isn't just a neutral tool. It's actively teaching, implicitly. It shapes how we understand knowledge, collaboration, learning itself.
Wow, okay. The tool itself teaches, but how? Like, what's the actual mechanism? How do these platforms do that teaching? The article brings up the psychologist James J. Gibson and his idea of affordances. Could you break that down for us? What are affordances in this digital context?
Sure. Gibson talked about affordances as the possibilities for action an environment offers you, like a chair affords sitting, a knob affords turning. In the digital world, it's all about the user interface, the buttons, the layout, the features. They suggest things, they guide you, and this is key. They also constrain what you can do. And these design choices, they're never neutral. They're the main way this hidden curriculum gets delivered.
Okay, let's make this concrete. The article uses Google Meet as an example, calling it the path of least resistance. So its main affordance seems to be convenience. What hidden lesson does that teach us about the learning space?
Yeah, convenience is definitely the headline for me. To just slogs right into the Google workspace, right?
Yeah.
Super easy. But as the article points out, there's a pedagogical trade-off. The interface is pretty basic, kind of generic, and the interactions, they're designed to be temporary. That chat, for instance, it vanishes the second the call ends, like it never happened.
So the hidden lesson there is
What?
that the learning experience itself is kind of fleeting, interchangeable.
Exactly. It implicitly teaches that the learning space is just a utility, disposable, a generic box with no real value or history. And this ties into something the critic Neil Postman warned about in his book Technopoly, this idea of a culture just sort of surrendering its judgment to whatever seems most efficient. Choosing meat just because it's easy, because it's there. The article suggests that's a small example of that surrender. It subtly tells you the where of learning doesn't really matter.
Okay, so Meet signals transience. What about Zoom? It feels a bit more substantial, maybe more features. But does it still have a hidden curriculum? The article argues it pushes a more traditional sort of top-down model.
It definitely does. Think about features like Spotlight or just the default view, often focusing on whoever is speaking. It immediately sets up a clear difference. Here's the expert, the presenter, and there's the audience, mostly passive. So the design kind of teaches that learning is this scheduled thing, almost like a performance you watch, not something continuous or truly collaborative where everyone's building it together.
Interesting. And then there's Microsoft Teams. It has that very corporate feel, doesn't it? The article suggests the signals work more than learning. How does its design nudge us in that direction?
Well, Teams is really built around productivity, project management. You've got persistent channels, file sharing baked in, task lists. It creates an environment that's optimized for getting things done, for structured collaboration. And researcher Dana Boyd, she's shown how people are really good at reading the social cues of a platform and changing how they act. So with Teams, that corporate vibe can subtly shift the focus away from, say, open-ended exploration towards just efficient completion of tasks. Learning becomes like Managed labor, another item on the to-do list.
Right, like ticking off learning objectives instead of exploring ideas.
Exactly. The environment frames it that way.
Now, this is where it gets really different. The article brings in Roam as a platform that's in stark contrast. Its main thing is spatial presence. What does that teach you as a learner?
Roam is totally different. It's immersive. You have an avatar, you're in this persistent 2D world you can customize. That spatial design allows for organic, sort of emergent social stuff, like bumping into people on a campus quad. Multiple conversations can happen naturally. It feels less structured, more alive.
So if Roam is about being in a space together, how does that change the lesson about knowledge itself?
The hidden curriculum there is that knowledge isn't just data to be downloaded. It's more like a landscape you inhabit, you explore, you build together. It teaches that learning is experiential, it's social, it emerges from interaction. You get a real sense of community presence, like you're actually somewhere together creating something.
And the article has this great case study, right? A university seminar taught across these different platforms. Can you walk us through that? How did the platform really change things?
Yeah, it illustrates the point perfectly. So in Google Meet, someone shares a brilliant idea in the chat. Call ends, idea's gone forever, lost. In Zoom, maybe learning happens in breakout rooms, but they're often rigidly managed by the instructor. You go where you're told. In Teams, the conversation might naturally gravitate towards organizing notes, assigning tasks, focusing on the deliverables in those threaded channels. That work frame again. But in Roam, the article imagines the seminar may be ending with students collaboratively designing a virtual museum wing. Different rooms for different concepts they explored together. The platform didn't just host the learning. It fundamentally shaped what they did and what they produced.
That's a really clear contrast. So this brings up a big question for you listening student, teacher, anyone using these tools. What are the real implications here? The article says choosing a platform is basically a declaration of pedagogical values. That's quite a statement.
It is, but it connects strongly to research by people like Nancy Baim. She showed how specific platform features persistence, social cues, interactivity directly impact the quality of social interaction and whether a real community can even form. A platform like Meet, with weak social cues and zero persistence. It's just much harder to build a strong learning community there compared to a persistent, spatially aware platform like Roam. So yeah, your choice does say a lot about what kind of learning you value.
And the article really pushes back against just accepting the default option, what it calls the tyranny of the default. Why is it so important for you, the user, not to just go with the easiest or most obvious choice?
Because, as Dana Boyd's work suggests, people feel the difference in these environments. Consciously or not, they adapt how they engage based on the platform's context. Ignoring that means ignoring a huge part of the learning experience and just passively accepting the default. That's exactly the danger Neil Postman was talking about, letting the technology dictate how we teach and learn instead of us deliberately choosing tools that actually support our goals.
So it seems like the research from the big picture stuff like McLuhan down to the specifics of Dixon's affordances and the social insights from Baim, Boyd, Postman, it all points in the same direction. The tools we use aren't neutral. They really do shape how we think, how we interact, and how we learn. We've seen how that choice of virtual platform, it carries this powerful, often unseen, hidden curriculum. It's not just about what information you get, but how the environment itself is training you to learn, to collaborate, even how to think about knowledge.
Exactly. And the real question, like the article puts it, it shouldn't just be what's the easiest link to send out. It should be what kind of environment is actually going to nurture the kind of learning we want to happen.
So maybe the next time you log into any virtual space, a meeting, a class, whatever, take a second, ask yourself, what silent lessons is this platform teaching me right now? Is it teaching transience? Hierarchy? Is it framing learning as just another task? Or is it actually inviting you into a space you can explore and build together?
And how could being more aware of this, this hidden curriculum, how could that empower you to make more deliberate choices, to pick tools that align with what you really value in learning, tools that genuinely engage and inspire you?
Definitely gives you a lot to think about regarding the digital spaces we spend so much time in. What really stands out to you from all this?